I think I've been here. This is my most visited attraction in my time since I've been the Minister for Digital and Culture. And it is telling that in government we chose to bring together those two things, digital and culture, because increasingly the two matter to each other very strongly, and archives in a way are a demonstration of this. And I was delighted when a couple of weeks ago I came to see you in the Keeper's office. I love that title. In the Keeper's office, and on the one side is a print of some of the oldest records in your collection, and on the other side is a piece of art symbolising the digital era, and it's the combination of the two which you combine. As Jude rightly said, this is an exciting time for our nation's archives. Knowledge and information are valued currencies in these global times, and thanks to the opportunities of this new technology, we enjoy mass digital access to records ranging all the way from the iconic, like the Domesday Book, to the cabinet minutes that help us understand how and why governments make their most affecting decisions. And on today of all days, the importance of archives is once again underlined as history is made. And also, increasingly, these more personal records, soldiers' letters home during the World Wars, insights into sporting lives and boardroom battles and births and deaths and property ownership. And there's been a real boom in this access to personal records and personal histories. At the same time, archives are feeding a renaissance in our creative industries and wider afield, and as old and once forgotten ideas and approaches inspire new ones, and this synthesis of the best of the old and the best of the new in business and fashion and music and art right across our communities, I think is an exciting development. I imagine that some, and maybe many of us, hear the word archive and think of a vault, where a favoured expert or an academic blows the dust from some forgotten files. But in the digital age, this history is accessible to everyone, no matter where they live or what they do. And the potential of that and the historic significance of that can't be underestimated. This mass digital access to physical records democratises our history and our collective understanding of who we are. So when you are going about your projects to digitise collections, it isn't just for the purpose of storing the data. It is blasting out access and fundamentally changing the relationship between the citizens and the archives that support them. Archives Unlocks therefore shines a light on the value of archives framed around trust, enrichment and openness. And I just want to go through these three areas. I think they're incredibly important. Trust, enrichment and openness. First, trust. As a democracy, we are strengthened by scrutiny and by being held to account. And now more than ever, the importance of trust underpinning the debates and the discussions that we have is critical. It's a sad example, but it's really telling. The Hillsborough inquiry is a good high-profile case of why archival records are so important and how they help build a picture of past events to ensure that justice can be done. 27 years after 96 lost their lives at Hillsborough, a jury found that the victims had been unlawfully killed and brought justice. And the ruling was only made possible by the release of 450,000 archived documents relating to the tragedy. This trust and confidence in public institutions are essential, and openness and scrutiny can help strengthen that trust. Second, enrichment. Archives enrich society because art and knowledge enrich lives, and any work of art, however ancient, becomes contemporary when somebody encounters it for the first time, just as you were saying. Just a little, what may seem a little nugget of information can be transformative. And in the age of Google and Spotify and YouTube and Instagram and Wikipedia and all the rest, where people expect ready access to things that intrigue them, archives have never been more relevant. And that inquisitiveness, the thirst for knowledge and for entertainment is there ready to be met. And of course, modern technology makes that all the easier. And finally, openness. Because this thirst for learning is a deep human impulse. And we have a wonderful array of archives right across the UK, and we want to make them as accessible as possible to everyone, regardless of their background. I saw primary school children at Kew learning about the Great Fire of London, and these kids, they were fascinated by the historical documents. They loved the fact that they could see the real thing and see it, and the past came to life, and they learnt something about their nation's story and therefore about themselves. Although thankfully they weren't actually allowed to touch the 500-year-old documents. But not everybody can easily get to Kew, and so opening archives up is critical, and digital enables that access. And I think what we've learned is that when you open up access digitally, you also drive interest in the real thing. And of course, in government, we're trying to make this easier for everybody, driving up connectivity and sorting out people's broadband. And now, until recently, it's always been the case that archives have had to be curated, so what was made available was decided by persons other than the consumers. And I think one of the really interesting things in Archives Unlocked is the impact of digital on the relationship between the curatorship and the consumers of archives, because it can change how people access and search and explore on the basis of what matters to the consumer. I think this is a really interesting development. And of course, the curatorship and archivists are critical to helping people to find the great work and the interesting work, but it changes that dynamic. But I think in a way it means that we value yet more greatly the specialised work of maintaining and expanding our nation's archives. And you only have to look here to see that this isn't just something that happens in Kew, it happens in organisations up and down the land. Dedicated staff and volunteers working to make available online. I think here at the South Bank Centre, 100 cubic metres of documents, oral histories, programmes, photographs, posters, artworks and objects in the archive. And I applaud your work. So what's next? This is an inspiring and ambitious document unlocking the potential of the archive sector that will require focus on delivering capacity, digital capacity, strengthening resilience, really demonstrating that impact. But I feel that there's an appetite to grasp that and an appetite for the change. And the National Archives, the sector lead, is going to work in partnership with archives and stakeholders right across and beyond the sector to realise the ambitions in this document. Together with support from the Heritage Lottery Fund, funding from the National Archives, a total of £1 million will be used to help train a new generation of digital archivists, encourage new and innovative practice. And as we digitise our collections, who knows what neglected treasures are there just waiting to be rediscovered. And ultimately, we'll unlock the full potential of our amazing, rich and diverse archives and the records that they preserve and protect, making it easier for people to explore and learn from the past, and so understand the present and be inspired for the future. And I look forward enormously to working with you all here to make it happen. Thank you very much indeed.